Good morning. Today is May 2nd, 2021. This is recording number 201. The title, More Precious Than Gold. More precious than gold. We live in an atmosphere or an environment or a country or a world where even though there are rare what do you call those things? Jewels and gems and precious metals. Gold is seen as being the most valuable of all. Gold. And as the price of gold is, people have become what we call rich. If you notice, the title of this sermon is More Precious Than Gold. Solomon, as we know, possessed probably the most richest of any person on the planet, maybe at that time. But he was considered to be the richest man because God loved him so that gave him all the precious and whatnot. But it's recorded that he was so rich that he took silver and he cast silver, threw it out of his kingdom, just threw it out like it was nothing, because gold was the most precious commodity. That's the word I was looking for. It was more precious than anything. And each year, people would bring valuables from all over the world, and gold was one of those. And Solomon valued the gold of a place called Ophir, O-P-H-I-R. That's why that's in your theme, Isaiah 13 and 12. The Lord speaks through Isaiah as he speaks through his prophets. There are many people on our planet that call themselves prophets, prophetesses, apostles, and bishops, and whatever. And there's nothing wrong with calling yourself these things if they're true. But if you'll notice, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, you rarely saw the prophet or the prophetess calling themselves by these titles. You always heard someone else say, have you talked to the prophet? Have you talked to the prophetess, the judges? But they rarely called themselves prophets and whatnot. But one thing that you knew is they were respected as being this because what they said came to pass. Isaiah is probably one of the greatest prophets that ever lived, but you only hear him quoted. You don't really see a lot of things he enacts that causes you to pay attention to him the way you did John the Baptist or some of the other prophets. But Isaiah 13 and 12 says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the gold of Ophir. Another translation says, even a man than the gold of the wedge of Ophir. And we know that a wedge is like a three-dimensional object that you drive into something. Now, I don't know what that wedge of gold was, but it must have been really something for Isaiah to say that God was going to make a man more precious than the wedge of Ophir, which Solomon held as the highest value. Do you want to be that man? See, that's the question that we must ask ourselves. Do I want to be that man? Now, it's something for people to say, I want to be more precious than gold. what are we saying? We see the preciousness. We see the value of the gold. See what I'm saying? We see the value. But for gold to be precious, it has to go through a cleansing process. It has to be boiled. It has to be put through the fire. It has to be put in such a way that all of its impurities float to the top where they can be drained off or skimmed off. And God is saying, this is what I'm going to make of a man. I'm going to put a man, he's going to desire to know me. And in his desire to know me, I'm going to burn away all of the ugly that's in his life. The man doesn't see his life as ugly. He just sees people mistreating him or not doing the things that he wants them to do, or not saying the things, or him not being able to do the things that he wants to do. He doesn't realize that that's selfishness. He doesn't realize that this world is to be shared by everybody on the planet. So he wants what he wants when he wants it. And God is saying, but that man that I am going to make, he is going to come to a place where he doesn't care about the things of this world, and I'm going to give them to him. He will be able to enjoy all of these things, but he will be more precious than that gold. He'll be more precious than the material objects or the things he wants to do. Why? Because his love will be for me. He will always keep his mind on me. He will never allow his mind to go elsewhere except maybe to observe a suggestion that's coming. And when that suggestion comes, he knows, my God has already seen through that situation, looked at that situation, and already know what's good for me. That's the hardest thing for man to do on this planet, is to stand still and allow God to be God in his life. Because God either moves too slowly, or I'm not sure of what God is going to do. I don't know what I want God to do, and I don't know whether I want him to do that. So man always jumps in front, does something, and then he wants to say, look how God blessed me. No. It's like I was speaking to you a little earlier about how many of you pray to have a shadow? How many of you pray not to have a shadow? See, I can tell you how to not have a shadow, but you know what? You'll only not have it for 1 second. How is that? Stand outside at 12 o'clock, high noon, when the sun beams directly down on you and your shadow will not be seen for 1 second. For immediately after that second, it begins, the sun is still moving and your shadow is beginning to make itself known again. But don't make the mistake of going what? In a house, behind a tree, or on a door, and that shadow immediately is. Why? Because you cannot pray not to have a shadow, and you cannot pray to have a shadow. A shadow is automatically with you. Once you understand that this is the way of God, God is always with you. You never have to, as you don't have to pray for a shadow, you do not have to pray for God to bless you. You do not have to pray for God to protect you. How can I get to a place where I understand such a wonderful thing? Well, my early morning meditation will silence all the wicked from the city of the Lord. What is the city of the Lord? My conscience. That's where God lives. You look out here in this world, you can't find God out there anywhere. You see people out there doing whatever they want to do, and trying to get away with it. But how do I silence my enemies? Through my morning meditation in the city of God. Where is the city of God? My conscience. Before I get out of the bed, I immediately go, I open the city unto you, Lord. I realize that your presence is with me. I am always kept full of supply because the supply house is always with me. There is no evil out there that can befall me. It can come and stand in front of me. It can come and curse. It can come and aggravate. It can even come to assault. But my morning meditation has stopped it all. Why? Because I have acknowledged you in all my ways. Your presence is automatically with me. I hold you dear in my consciousness, and therefore I give you the ability to be God. For there you reign supreme. There you are my comfort. There you are my supply. I will not be afraid of what man should try to do. I will not be afraid of what appears to be coming at me, for I know thou art with me. You are the shepherd of life. Therefore, you are watching over that which you have created. I will not be afraid. For as I walk through the land, through the valley of the shadow of death. What then is the shadow of death? Not necessarily that thing that would put me in a grave. The shadow of death is that thing that would come to cause me to believe that I am not joined to you. I cannot be separated from you because you are life. And because you are life, I am life. And that life that you are, you have given to me. Yea, Lord, my early morning meditation. It destroys the enemies. Even though they appear, even after I've had my morning meditation, they shall do me no harm, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff. It comforts me. It comforts me in knowing that though the ugly alien of deceit rise up before me, it can do me no harm because my early morning meditations have silenced it in what it tries to do. I will then behave wisely. I have no need to raise up an argument with anyone. I have no need to get in a dispute. Why? Because I am walking in my house, which is my conscience, which is the house of God, with a what? A perfect heart. How is my heart perfect when the world tells me that I can't be perfect? Well, the world is a liar. The world is going by what it sees, but it cannot say anything to me. Why? Because I have risen this morning and I've made my house perfect. I have made my heart perfect because I have given it to that which created, that which is life, that which watches over life, that which watches over its word to perform it. What then shall come against the Father? Nothing. And in this will I rest. And I know that his word is with me. Why? Because the word is alive. His word is ever alive. And the most wonderful thing about his word is like my shadow. His word is automatic. When God thinks of a person, he automatically thinks of me. And if he automatically thinks of me, then I am alive to him. And my security is in him because nothing can come against his thought. Oh, my goodness. This is what Jesus meant when he said, I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. What is the abundant life? The abundant life is the life of God visible as me. I will not fear what man will do. Why? Because now I realize that whatever is going on in this world is coming as a purifier. It's only coming that I would be able to recognize my Father above that situation. So you mean then that everything that's coming at me, I am to look above it? That's right. Because if you look at it and give it value, it is going to give you death. And what is the death? The death is a separation from my good. I shall not be separated from my good, for God is making me more precious than any materialistic item that can exist. So my responsibility is what? Look at it and realize I am in the Father. The Father is in me. In him I live. In him I move. In him I have my being. So therefore, whatever that thing is that is coming at me, what is it coming to do? It's coming to purify me. How does it purify me? It causes me to see my Father. That's the purification. Stop looking for some movement. Like I heard a preacher say the other day. He said, I know that Jesus said if you had faith the grain of a mustard seed, you would say unto this mountain, be thou removed, lifted up, and cast into the sea. He said, how many of y'all have ever seen that? Right. He was using a story to tell you how much respect you have already with God. What? Yeah. Stop thinking that you have got to grow in some type of respect to God. No. For God so loved, right? He so loved the world, right? And he wished that none perish. Can you see how much he loved you before you even know of his love? This is the attitude that must be taught to the heart. You must walk knowing that because he is God, I am more valuable to him and more precious to him than pure gold. Well, then why is all this ugly stuff happening? To purify you, to get you to look at him when that thing's coming. Because once you understand how much he loves you, that he loved you so much that guess what? Instead of putting you through the thing called death that we thought, he did it himself. Can you see it? He went into that, and then when he came out, he says, now live. Colossians 3 and 4, he says, when Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. The life that we are to live is the very life of God's Christ. We have a book that explains who we are down to the minutest detail, and we won't read it. Oh. Do I need to say that again? You take that iPhone and you'll read till your eyeballs fall out trying to figure out how to use that phone. Or the iPad, or the TV. We'll go to YouTube and look at baseball. We'll look at basketball. We'll look at football. We'll look at how they do all this stuff. We'll go to Wikipedia and we'll read up on all of this stuff. We'll get this TV, how to make my TV a smart TV. We'll even pull the manual out of the glove compartment on our vehicles. We won't read the whole thing, but we will read up on certain things that we want to learn how to do. But we will not pull that Bible out and read it. And it's the one thing that's telling you how to be free. We will listen to the man in the pulpit tell us what it means before we'll go read it for ourselves. And then when we do read it, we read it with a veil over the truth, saying, oh, they're talking about Jesus. Talking about Jesus? Yeah, they are talking about Jesus. But you know what he said? He said, I read the book. Jesus said, I read it. And I found out it was talking about me. That's what he said. And we are joint heirs with him, right? So if it's talking about him, it's talking about us. But we won't read it. Let somebody tell us how worthless we are. We'll let somebody tell us how dead we should be and in our grave. We'll let somebody tell us that I don't know why he loves me, but he does. We'll let somebody tell us I don't deserve his mercy. And we'll walk around and stop. We'll let somebody tell us you're not perfect when he says be ye perfect. We'll let somebody tell us we're not holy when he says be ye holy. We'll let somebody tell us that, and we will walk around and regurgitate those lies and untruth, and will not look at when it says, when Christ, who is our life. Now, how do you get around that, y'all? I'm reading scripture to you. I'm not giving you an interpretation at all, am I? I'm not telling you what that means, am I? Is it telling you what it means? Right. But we refuse. I tell you there is no devil, and you will fight me to tell me there is one. But you look in the Bible and it says there is no devil. But you will go, my mama, my daddy, my grandma, my so-and-so told me there was. And you will hold on to that lie. Yep, that's what it is, a lie. You will hold on to it. Why? I don't know. Because when I found out there wasn't, guess what I did? I threw my understanding of him being alive, and I threw it in the trash can. Little did I know of the persecution I was going to take for doing that. And then when I show it to the people in the Bible, they go, that ain't what that means. I go, okay, well, you know the one that you think I have? They say, yeah. I said, you can have that one too. I want you to have twins. When Christ, why will we not accept this? When Christ, who is our life, you mean my life is Christ? That's what it said. When it shall appear, when will it appear? When I believe it. See? They tell you it's when he comes back, right? When he comes back. Well, why did he say, I'll never leave you? I'll never forsake you. When is it going to be? When he comes back. He comes back when you believe it. You don't do anything with it. You just believe it. And when you believe it, it becomes like your shadow. The things that's in that life automatically begin to appear as good. The supply, the food you need, the shelter, the clothing, the cars, the transportation, the trips, the Disneyland, all those things begin to automatically come into your life. Why? Because you have seen him. And when you see him, you realize that this life, get this, y'all, automatically knows how to live itself. Did you hear me? And what am I doing? I'm standing there watching it live itself. And when someone says, how did you do that? I said, I just love the Lord. That's all you got to do. I just love the Lord. You don't have to explain why I sit in meditation 35 minutes or I sit in meditation because some days I'm in meditation 4, 5, 6 hours. Some days I'm in meditation 4, 5, 6 minutes. Some days I'm in meditation 4, 5, 6 seconds. But it's a constant thing. I keep him on my mind. Why? Because he keeps me at perfect peace. You want to be mad or you want to be glad? You pick. You pick the one you want. Well, I don't think I need to do this all the time. Well, don't. See what you get. Because if you're always meditating on something. Okay? Meditation is just where your mind is deciding to rest at a specific time, a moment in time. So if your mind is thinking on the government going to come and take your car, you're meditating. But if your mind is thinking on no weapon formed against me shall prosper, the solution to keeping your car will appear. Hello? So how long do I have to do this? I do it. I don't care how long I got to do it. Because there is a principle called 2 plus 2. What's the principle of 2 plus 2? 4. What's the God of 2 plus 2? 4. Tell me it's 3 if you want to. Tell me it's 5 if you want to. That principle is never going to raise up and shake its head, is it? That's what God is to us. The principle of life. Now look at this, 2 Corinthians 2 and 14. I wonder how many people actually stopped and paid attention to this. Because we know how brilliant and how glorious and how wonderful Jesus is, right? We have no doubt about that. But look at what God says, what he told Paul to tell us. Now thanks be to God who has made us in the pattern of Christ. And makes manifest the savor, which is a smell. You know, like when you go home and you walk through the door and you go, oh, man, that chicken smells good. Oh, somebody cooking apple pie. Oh, but somebody brought some flowers. You see, you can smell. You can smell God. He says he has made us, them gingerbread cookies. See, you got a little stamp, right, that you stamp in the dough, and it makes the gingerbread in the pattern, it makes the cookies in the pattern of whatever that stamp is. It might be a heart. It might be a man. It might be a horse. It might be a unicorn, an elephant, a chicken, a dog. But the bottom line is every one of those cookies is made in the pattern of whatever that stamp is, right? Well, what was the pattern that you were made in? Hello? Thanks be to God who has made us in the pattern of Christ. Well, what is Christ? Christ is the Son of God. So I am made in the pattern of the Son of God? Yeah. So why do I think all this ugly and cause all this problem? Because you have not acknowledged that that's how you're made. You have not acknowledged that it's okay for you to think like Jesus Christ. You have not acknowledged that it's okay for you to walk the earth like Jesus Christ. But I don't know how to talk like him. Well, keep your mouth shut. Just think it. Think it. One day, guess what? It's going to bust out of your mouth. And you're going to say something and see it. But it will bust out of you anyway because you're thinking it. Why? Because he makes manifest the savor of his knowledge through you where? As they used to say, everywhere I go. When you understand who you are, look at your problems. Can you see them fading? If you can't see them fading, you just need to look a little harder. Colossians 2:9. For in him dwelleth all the followers of the Godhead bodily. That word should be fullness. In him dwelleth all the fullness, goodness gracious, the fullness of the Godhead. The fullness, everything that makes God who God is, everything that makes the Holy Ghost who he is, and everything that makes the Son of God everything he is, in man, all of this is right now. You're just choosing to believe you're something else. And because you choose to believe you're something else, guess what you're going to stay in? Trouble. Hello? Hello? Anybody out there hearing me? Is trouble seem to be following you around? Guess why? You refuse to realize, like we had in Sunday school this morning, it said the prophet Micaiah looked up and he said, I saw God. Hello? Do you realize what that privilege is? To be able to see God? He didn't say how big he was or how small he was. He just said, I saw God sitting on his throne. And all the host of heaven, host means everybody that was in heaven, was on his right hand and on his left hand. Oh, my goodness. Where is the Godhead, y'all? The fullness of the Godhead is dwelling where? In me. So the throne of God is where? In me. And the fullness of heaven is on his left hand and on his right hand. Listen. That's who I am. Can God's plan for us get any clearer? I will live in them. I will move in them. I will be their God. Well, hello. That little baby that you're carrying in your arms is, months old, whatever. What fears does that baby have? Do you see what God is saying to you? You may as well be a baby in God's arms, and he's saying, I got you. If you just quit jumping bad, if you just quit jumping bad, if you just let that ugly thing come up and get in your face like a swarm of bees, and you look at it and go, I know who you are. But the fullness of God is in me right now, with me right now, and what is it going to do? Drive the bees away. That ugly is coming at you to do what? Get you to look at who you are. Stop looking at somebody getting ready to hit you and you don't want to be a wimp. You don't want it to be said. It's sort of like what gets me is in that movie Man of Steel. You ever notice how his daddy always kept him from fighting? Because if he fought, the world would know who he was, and if they knew who he was, what were they going to do to him? That's right, he's going to kill him. He's going to try to kill him. So he had to keep his identity secret. Can you see what I'm talking about? Even though you know you can beat that person, even though you know you can cuss them out better than they can cuss you out, even though you know you can make them look bad or whatever, the bottom line is God is saying, hold your tongue. Hold your tongue. Let me do this. Psalm 119, 114. Look at that, y'all. Thou art my hiding place and my shield. I hope, not that I wish. That hope right there does not mean I'm hoping that you're going to take care of me. God's hope is like an anchor to a boat, okay? So when you say, I hope in God, you're saying I'm locked in. Nothing can move me from this spot. But what am I locked into? The Word. I'm locked into your Word because thou, God, has exalted your Word above your name. See the power of a word? Grass. The word grass appeared before the green grass appeared in the earth. Are you hearing me? The word sky appeared with God before this thing called sky. Waters, they were in his mind real before they appeared. That's why he says heaven and earth will pass away, but what won't? My word. My word will never pass away. Thou art my hiding place, my shield, because I will dwell in thy word. Why? Because thou art thy word. God is the word. Hold the word dear. The word will automatically appear as your shadow does. And we end with Isaiah 32:2. Get this, y'all. And a man shall be a hiding place from the wind, and as a shelter from the tempest, as streams of waters in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Who will be that? Me. Okay? Make it personal. I can't go out here and just be this, but I can go out here and think this and believe this, and as automatically as my shadow appears, what's going to happen? I will become a hiding place for those people that are in trouble. Can you see it? I will become a hiding place and a shelter for those people who have no home. They don't necessarily have to come and live with me. When they come to talk to me and say, I need a place to stay, and I say, go in peace, somebody got to offer them a place to stay. Can you see it? And if necessary, yes, they will stay with me. But God will make it happen. They will be a shelter from the tempest, whatever is coming at them. Our purpose is to get people to see God, not us. I don't want nobody following me. My job is for you to follow me as I follow Christ. Once he steps in the picture and shows himself to you, you can leave me alone. Just love me. That's all I say to you. Just keep me lifted up. As streams of water in a dry place. You ever seen somebody just wringing their hands and say, I just don't know what I'm going to do? And guess who you are? Right there in front of them. You the answer. And you going, I know, bro. It's hell all over. That's not the answer you give them. God is waiting on you. He's saying, I'm making you more precious. I'm showing you how I'm going to take care of you so that you may comfort these people when they come with these situations. You don't need to know what to tell them. All you need to be able to do is say, I got you. I'm with you. I'll be with you. That's all you have to do. And look at them the way you look at God. Because he is making you more precious than gold. And the only way for you to get there is you got to go through this thing called this hell thing of life. You got to go through it and get purified so you will know how to tell them it's going to be all right. Without a doubt, I will be with you. and you say it with confidence because you have gone through those ugly periods. You have been purified. You have risen to the place where you realize that God loves all of his creation. And stop talking about all this stuff people need to do with people out here to get along. It ain't going to happen, y'all. It's not going to happen. Who you join yourself to, you become one with. Only let God do the joining, okay? Look at God, and he will join to you that which you need to have. But it's not just for you. You now become eyes. You become the eyes of the blind. And I don't mean blind because they can't see. I mean blind because they can't see how to navigate this thing out here. And they doing all kinds of crazy mess out there and staying in what? Trouble. Chaos. This is not what God has for us. He says, I want to make you more precious than gold. And look here, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Did y'all get that? We started out talking about that shadow, didn't we? Can that rock say it doesn't want a shadow? Nope. But look how that rock is being described. A great rock. So a great rock would be what? Huge. That's what he's making you. And you don't have to do anything but lift your conscience. You don't have to go out and find a place for them to stay. You don't have to find money for them to have. You don't have to find a car for them. You don't have to find food for them. Where did Jesus get food for the 5,000? Out of the storehouse, out of the great rock. Where did he get the money to pay his taxes? Out of the storehouse, out of the great fish. It was a small fish, probably. Where did he get the ability for these people to get well? Out of the storehouse. The great rock was the rock of Christ. He knew he was, which would cast an automatic shadow of what was necessary at that particular time. Yes, yes, yes. As he became, so do we become a man more precious than gold. God bless you.